picturesque Norfolk coast lie the villages of Burnham Deepdale and Brancaster State. For over 140 years, the village school was an integral part of the local community's life.
Yeah, my days, I've got very good memories of the primary school.
It's the heart of the village. A school is always the heart of a village.
All the generations had been through the school.
But Brancaster Deepdale closed down in 1985.
It was very sad to see it go. They fought for 2-3 years. At 85 we closed and they started fighting to keep it open in 1982.
The school buildings are now part of 2 houses. Today, former teachers and pupils from the 1940s to the 1980s reminisce about their time there. Mervyn Nudds is the harbour master. He went to Deepdale School in the 1940s.
When I first came to Deepdale School, I always remember my mother bringing me down by hand and coming in. And I think she hadn't been gone long before I ran out and was dragged back again. I learnt my lesson. We didn't used to come in through here. The gateway went along out through there, which used to be the schoolmaster's house. And this basically here was the infant room with a porch a little further back. Then you come to the senior room. I remember coming up into this room when I was 7 years of age. Now, looking at the ceiling, before it was covered in, that had the actual roof was like this, if you see my hands, inside, and there was 3 beams went across there, and basically that's where the blanket hung across to separate the juniors from the seniors, or the vacuees. Oh yeah, we got lovely memories of the vacuees, really. You played one another up or had goes at one another, but you know, basically, yeah, we was all still friendly. And we used to sing all the war songs, Tipperary and Run Rabbit Run and things like that. We used to have a whale of a time. What we wanted to do as boys then was to get out and do something like go and working on the farm, helping with the war. We used to go potato picking, and that was all part of the war effort or things like that. You all helped and you worked in with one another. We also used to go out onto the farms with the teacher to see how things went on and showing things. And in that day and age, all the older people had time for the younger people. You learned a lot like that. I mean, basically, I was doing a harvest when I was 9 and working a horse when I was 10. The other thing we used to do was to go on nature walks, and you learn all about the grass and the flowers. Well, you was a country person, you were glad to say you remain a country person. On the exercise book, there was a little motto on there, whatever is worth doing well. And that should be on every book now at Goat School.
Brenda Elsey was the headmistress from 1969 to 1985.
When I first came here in 1969, this was a hayfield, and it was left and cut at hay time in June. When I came, they decided that we could have it as a school field. We used to bring the children out here on nice hot days. We had our sports day here once a year, and it was a fun sports, and they did all sorts of things like running races, egg and spoon that they had, and we also used to have obstacle races. And of course we had to have a parents' race, mums and dads. It was great fun.
But in Mervyn's day, it wasn't all just fun and games.
Miss Bright was very strict, very Victorian. If you didn't learn your lessons properly, she used to stand you up in the corner with a big D hat on. A lot of the children were just petrified of it, but I wasn't. She stood me up in the corner one day near her desk, and she was talking to somebody, the rest of the children, and there was a pair of scissors on the side of the desk, so I slipped them and put them on the chair she was going to sit on. When she sat down, she actually cut a dress. So now you know what I was a little tearaway at times.
This is unrecognisable from when I saw it last, the last day of term. Both the classrooms, the roof space went right up as far as the tiles. There was no false ceiling like this. And this is marvellous that it's now beamed and it's very attractive. This room was warmed up quicker than the other one, part of the smaller, and also because of the roof being lower. In mine, it took 2 or 3 days to heat the roof space up. And by the end of the week, you were cooking with the 2 pot-bellied stoves that we had in. This was Mrs. Tate's infant room. Mrs. Tate was an excellent teacher. We both lived in the village, which was a great asset. We knew all the people. We had a great family atmosphere both in the school and in the village. There were 2 steps up here, up into my classroom, which was where the idea that they came up to the juniors came from. This had a tiered system. They had a fireplace over there where that fireplace is now, and the tiers went up. Not too steeply, but you could get a lot more children in that way because they only had little benches like this. Nowadays, I mean, they go on about children being obese. They didn't have a chance to be obese in those days. They were much smaller, both in height and in width, and they could fit a lot more into the classroom.
A family who have seen all the changes are the Sutherlands. Cyril and his daughter Catherine have lived in the village all their lives.
In 1951, when I started, January 51, there was Miss Brighton who was there, and all the children dreaded Miss Brighton because she'd been there for years and years and years. Hattie was her nickname. Then we went up to Miss Kay's class when we got older, and she was the one who was very much for discipline, and but she took us out gardening and taught us about nature, and all in all that was quite a happy time. I don't know how you got on in your school days.
Well, discipline was a lot firmer than it is nowadays. We didn't get away with shoddy work, and we had to work jolly hard. There were certain standards we were expected to adhere to, and if we didn't, we were in big trouble. Yeah, and a very small unit, but very happy.
Catherine, now a teacher herself, was taught by Brenda in the 1970s and 80s.
This was heaven on earth to me to come here. And the school itself had about 24, 25 pupils. The older ones could teach the younger ones, and that's what the principle of how the school worked. All the children who left my school could read above the chronological reading age, which was set. If you can't read a maths book, a textbook of any kind, or nowadays the computer screen. The only computer we had in school was when they first came out. We had a little Spectrum, and that was pretty hopeless. The children cottoned onto that far better than I did.
Yeah, my days, I've got very good memories of the primary school. The chalk on the blackboard used to really squeak. Nowadays, blackboards are considered a health hazard in most schools. And in my classroom where I teach, it's 3-year-olds going up to the interactive whiteboards, changing the programme with the pen really confidently. Yeah, the curriculum was very varied to what it is nowadays. They could do a lot more about local things. I mean, I remember we did a lot of nature work. It wasn't the same thing every day like it is. You know, you have to teach literacy and numeracy nowadays. It wasn't like that. You know, we had a lot more free time to do different things that we wouldn't find in the curriculum today.
Every year we did a nativity play in the church. Church was always packed, standing room only.
We had quite a bit of a religious education as well. The school was a church school, and the Reverend, he used to come down quite frequently, and then he just knew everybody in the village. That was just such a different way of life it is today.
And village life wouldn't have been complete without the school dog.
I knew when I moved into the village I would have a puppy, and so I brought the puppy into school, and the children loved her, and she was called Honey. She used to go from one classroom to the other, and she'd come out and watch them play, and she'd meander around. She was a very, very gentle dog. And when, unfortunately, at 12, she died, and the whole school was sobbing for a couple of days. And until they sat one day, very well behaved, arms folded, upright, most unusual, and one of them had been elected spokesperson and asked me, "Miss Elsie, when are you going to get us another puppy?" And I did, so.
But you see, you was like me at Deepdale School. We finished at 11. Now, in my father's time, children stayed there till they were 14 and 15, so you had the whole age group at the school. My mother went there, my father went there, then we went there, me and my brother and 2 sisters. And then after a few years, because you come along, and there's you, your sister and your brother, so there was all the generations had been through the school, but that was all part and parcel of the community.
The way that I remember the school was the whole community were involved with the school. Yeah. It was, you know, the governors and everything were all people from the community who we knew. People kept popping in. We used to walk down to school and the old people would come out of the houses to talk to us when we came back.
During the late 1970s and early 80s, many small rural schools faced closure. Village life was about to change.
And then on Friday 1985 was when they closed it.
The whole community felt it. It wasn't just, you know, the children of the parish that felt it. It was the whole community.
We took it right to London, went to the House of Commons. I went and see one of the education ministers. And there was a terrific campaign by the parents and governors, but at the end we had to close.
They decided to close it.
Yes, yes. Yeah. But they did knock the stuffing out of the community. There's no doubt about it. Yes, yes.
Everybody missed it, and you don't know who's in the village nowadays because it used to be...
The children used to do it with the old people's complex. I remember they presented a seat once, didn't they? They come up and sung to them and various things.
Used to join with the carol singing and things around the community, everything. Yeah. Nowadays, you don't get that commitment because they do off doing different things. But we all were there, and all the parents were there supporting, which is, you know, a real achievement in those days, really. Yeah. So it was really sad that when that closed. Really sad.
As the village adapted to the school's closure, the children found new schools and technology slowly brought even more of a change to their lives.
Whenever we went out, no matter which direction we went, we met somebody who would have time for us and show us how to do things. These days, you don't see children. They get off the school bus and they disappear up into their little rooms with the computers or whatever it is they have up there. And they never have enjoyed life. I had when I was young.
Despite the protests from the whole community, the school eventually closed in July 1985.
The last day of the school, we had on the school playground, we had a maypole. And they did maypole dancing and country dancing, and we just gave everyone a concert and had a really good but sad time.